Thank you, everyone. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge how much we appreciate everyone coming to this session. We're also very grateful to our customer, Jason, here, who is going to join us today and talk a little bit about his impressions and experiences as a beta customer for this new application. So without further ado, I'm going to spend a few minutes kind of giving you some of the history in terms of what has brought us to this point. How many of you, show of hands, ever worked with a gentleman named Jeff Little from Census or Xylem? Jeff, has been just a fantastic contributor. A lot of the features and the functionality that you are going to see here today are the result of his hard work, his tireless work capturing the voice of the customer. He traveled all over the place, spoke to so many NMS users and ComStats users to understand what would comprise a better, more intuitive, easier solution than NMS and ComStats. And you'll see the fruits of his labor reflected in the user interfaces that we're going to show here today. So we appreciate that work. We've got a fantastic team of engineers and technical folks who are helping us launch this product at the end of November. So we are right on the edge of releasing this into the wild, and we can't wait to get it into everyone's hands. A lot of the ideas that led to the genesis of this suite of applications was understanding what represents the common network management tasks at a utility. And we try to envision this as far as not only the large-scale investor-owned utilities, but the munis, the co-ops. What would represent a network management solution for every utility? And we realized pretty early on in the process that there are different buckets of tasks, from configuration to monitoring and observing what's going on in your system, the tuning aspects, which can be quite intimidating, the troubleshooting, which if you don't have the proper tool set is always going to be very challenging, and then finally the optimization. And so these represent all of the job functions and tasks that we're trying to accomplish with this product. Also, who is using these tools? As a utility grows in size, or as any company grows in size, you find that the technical knowledge and the content complexity tend to grow with it. Not always, but in many cases. So everyone from the billing clerk, the CSR, through your base station operators, your meter shop personnel, the network operators, the admins, all the way up to your RF network specialists, there needs to be, again, one suite of applications that can address all of those needs and all of those roles and personas. So if you look at kind of what we have today, right? NMS, or this is actually maybe a few weeks old at this point. It's Q3 because we have an NMS 215 now. But in the RNI, as of around 4.3 or 4.2, we added an application called Network Pulse. Network Pulse was characterized as an at-a-glance network monitoring tool. Basically, green good, red bad. Very, very simple. Worked well for a lot of people. Continues to work well for a lot of people. It's not going anywhere. But we needed to embellish that kind of knowledge with more complex, or I should say, more full-featured tools to address those other utility personas. So in current language, we would have SDP, which runs on Hadoop. All of these kind of sit along with NMS within RNI. And then as you look forward a little bit to kind of our current day, you start to see where the SDP solution is kind of in a limited support phase, by which it means it's still supported, but it's no longer kind of a fertile ground for additional feature enhancement. Instead, we have NCS, Network Command Suite. And net metrics represents the first stage of that. And so if we flash forward a year from now, so at Reach 2020, we'll be talking to you about not only net pulse and not only net metrics, but also about net tune, and perhaps even some more surprises in there in terms of what you can do to not only monitor the statistics of your network, but also do those tuning and configuration use cases. So our team is hard at work on grooming that net tune solution as well as grooming the next iteration of net metrics. But today, we're going to share with you, or more specifically, my colleague Nana is going to share with you, a couple of slides in terms of what this solution does. And truth be told, we're probably going to fly through this because we want to save the bulk of the time not only for our friend Jason here, but also for questions from all of you. So with that, I'm going to transition this over to Nana.
When you log into NetMetrics, this is the first thing you're going to see is, you know, just the system level metrics, and we have what they call the hamburger, you know, what do you call that? Like a drop down where you can select for devices, towers, and stuff like that. So you see the modules over here. This is the system metrics that you see, and we mainly concentrate on, you know, customizing the user experience. So you can actually move those around a lot. And I don't know if any of you guys had the opportunity to go and actually check out the demo over there, that you guys can play around with the NetMetrics. But you can move these around, and you can also customize the time duration. So you can have one module that's for 7 days and one module for like 30 days. So you can compare side by side. So this is the dashboard preference. Like I said, I don't need to talk about the hamburger menu anymore, but this part, the end modules, this is all the stuff that you will see. Don't worry about the background, I took that out. Anyway, you see the guest administrator, that's gonna be your username, okay? And you can set preference, clear preference, and your customer ID will be there. The set user preference part, that's just color coding, so, you know, for everyone who likes their thing customized. This is the map of nowhere. So it's just the base, you know, you can see the number of base stations you guys have and the endpoints. And you can click in, like for example, you see 6 right there, you click in and you will see, you know, what's the 6 alarm status for that TGB or whatnot. These are the filters for maps. I'm not going to go through every one of them. There's a lot of them. You can go and customize every one of them, and it will remember what you did. And you can also save it. This is the alarm part. You have filter, configuration, table, and graph. You see the filter part where it's green? I turned on some kind of filter. I do not remember what I did, but I turned on some kind of filter, so it shows up with all these alarms. The tower ID is just red because I changed it. It will also have soft alarms that I didn't put in. And these two are different pages. So like, for example, you got the filters up on the top for the alarms, and every single one from base station, devices, alarms, and endpoints, they are all going to be different. But the interface is going to look very similar. So it's not like something that you have to go to the endpoint page and it's going to be different. This is the base station page. You can view and sort. Same thing. This is just mainly to let you guys see what it looks like with the filters. But as you can see, like I said, it's different. Filtering. The base station. Of course, there's no base station detail name 22. I took out a lot of data, so it looks kind of funky because of that. But this is what you would see. And in every single detail page, from radio, endpoints, and devices, and base station, they are all going to look like this, where you see details, alarms, history map, and all their information. You can't move these. These are not modules you can move. Okay? So this is the radio endpoint view. It's not going to look like this. It's going to look a lot more beautiful when you have data. And this is the metrics part. So it will show you everything you want here. And you see the filtering. You can filter these out and customize it for yourself and what's more important for you guys. Cool. Devices, same. Like I said, same up there. I know I'm running out of time, am I? Radio details. I love this page because it gives you a lot of data. If you have a large network, you would actually see, you know, like I said, you can customize it where you can see 7 days, 30 days, and 60 days. And you can actually zoom in and see what's, you know, what's wrong with that period or whatever you decide to look at. You can also make it big too with the, you know, enlarge button on the left. Oh, and do you see the calendar part right there on the right side? That's, you know, to set your duration. And you can do duplicate modules. So if you want to look at messages sent to Buddy for 7 days, right there. 30 days, right there. You can have duplicates. This is the history. This is a, you know, history for, like, for example, base station 1, 2, 3, something like that. And this is the admin page where it shows you, you know, if the NetMed is, you know, having trouble running and whatnot, and the customer input, how much you see. It's just an overview for the administrator to see. And this is from Minnesota Power.
All right, well, hello, everyone. Show of hands. Who here is pretty much reliant on either the old CommStats or only Network Pulse to watch your network at this point in time? Okay, I'm in the same boat as you, at least I was until a couple of months ago. You're gonna love this product, trust me. I was approached by Jeff Little in the early stages of looking at this, trying to understand what we were looking at, what we were looking for on this. For the most part, for myself, I'm really using this as a troubleshooting tool to try to find if I have problems with the base stations, with installations, with interference or anything like that out in the field. That's really the heart of what I'm using it for, is really monitoring for that kind of information. This here is basically what my main dashboard I have set up as is. So I'm really looking for, do I have noise-related issues or do I have SWR-related issues? This is something that I never could see before. This never came into CommStats other than the noise level. I couldn't see SWR. This is a game changer for me, really. I've known I had issues in the network. I couldn't find them, or I'd have a very hard time finding them. It'd have to be an operational style issue where I'm losing a large number of read rates before I could really ascertain I had a problem with this particular tower or something going on. This here, one of the first times I was able to go in it, things that in CommStat world and that was taking me 10, 15, 20 minutes or more to try to dig through data and graphs and look at stuff, I could find that in a minute or two in here. That first screen, configure a few settings on it, boom, hey, there's my problems, here it is. You know, I'm actually really excited about being able to get a full version of this eventually and really take advantage of what I can do with it. This is the graphs that I look at if I'm looking at an individual TGB radio. This one here, if you take a look at that graph on the left there, that's actually SWR over there. I've had this beta version for not quite 2 months now. It's already initiated 6 truck rolls for us. We found 2 isolators on R100s that were damaged and water filled. We found several others that the squirrels have decided that the coax is a pretty good chew toy for them to chew on. So, and these were problems that I was not aware of until I looked through this system, and I could not see it, could not find it any other way. You can kind of see that's a pretty paradigm shift in there of, we had SWRs of over 4 on there, so we were pretty much losing all output capability of that radio. There was no two-way capable out of it at that point. After that, go out there, fix it. Hey, everything's working like it should again. Again, this might have taken me weeks or months to find that we weren't resetting demands, we weren't disconnecting meters, things just weren't working in that area for whatever reason. This finally gave me the eyes that I needed to kind of find what I needed out there. Again, as you can see, ping responses, pretty night and day difference. We were getting virtually none before, and then it shot up quite radically after that. So, this is, to me, I really view this as a really good tool. I'm really excited to see what the mapping capabilities and all that are going to be with the full version, because I think if we can take some of the highlights of what CompStats did do well, incorporate that into here and keep moving forward with it, I think we can have a really usable product that a lot of us can go through and use. Like I said, I'm pretty excited to actually see what this will actually look like as a final product, because I've already found it a pretty invaluable tool as just a beta version out there for myself.
Jason, what R&I version do you have to utilize this?
I can answer that question. So it's written to work on 4.x as a 4.2 or greater. The process to get it added to the RNI will be a little different for 4.2 and 4.3 as opposed to 4.4 and later. But when they were writing the code, they wanted to make sure that if you were on at least 4.2, it would work.
Because those of you that have moved on to the 4 platform, as they were alluding to, Network Pulse is nice for up, down, yes, no, basically. It is a nice tool for that, but you kind of went blind again a little bit when you moved into that world, and this is kind of coming back and filling the gap for me quite a bit, and actually taking it further than I ever could see it before. I know personally, I'm getting this kind of information out of the R100s because they kind of have it inherently in it. This is really going to promote me for a case to add PCC cards onto my older radios and SPM 900s onto my other radios, because now I have a tool to take advantage of the data to come to me, and I can basically monitor our network at a much higher level.
To an untrained eye or ignorant salesperson or a customer that hasn't seen this or worked much in CompStats, how does this new tool kind of show what they should be seeing and understanding a lot of the technical stuff that you were talking about there?
It's fun.
Yeah, so it was definitely kind of focused on, I will say, the level of detail that you would typically get from NMS and CompStats, but in an easier to parse visually format. One of the pieces of feedback, and granted, Jeff worked so much more closely with customers than I have on their CompStats use cases, but the usability of the application was always a sticking point with a lot of folks that I spoke to. And so kind of taking that major pain point of usability and addressing that head on in terms of the customizable dashboards, presenting explicitly what you want to see upon login as opposed to sifting through multiple interfaces.
Has thought been given to migrating the data to a new RNI version? So taking the data that you have here and making sure that exists in your new RNI version. Are y'all planning for that?
Are you asking in terms of, say, for example, if you have this on 4.4 and you go to an RNI 4.6, carrying the data with you?
Yes.
Thought has been given to that, and I believe that is standard as part of the cutover process from within a 4.x to another 4.x version. So we should be okay there, but I can get a more detailed response in terms of the logistics of how that works from the developers.
Okay.
So two questions. One is base station configurations, is that pulled back anywhere? With the M400s, you have multiple channels and frequencies and that sort of thing. Is all that pulled back? Firmware versions that you can actually see for all the base stations? Because we have 430 base stations, right? And so that could be a wrong configuration get into a base station, right? So you have all that data that's in there, and maybe even the JSON file data.
I don't know if the JSON file data is okay. No, so
That
the firmware versions, yes, but the JSON file data, no, at this time.
That's the configuration. So yeah, I think that would be
The channel data is there. 'Cause
channel
I've been
mapping
watching
and all that. Yeah, that's a start. Yep. And my other question is, when you start to look at endpoint configurations or troubleshooting endpoints, I think NMS we have that, and it's a great tool to do that. But there's not ability to join the Oracle database that we use. So you may have something on a meter, but you don't know enough about it to do good troubleshooting with it. So if you had some kind of a join to the database, you could actually see maybe location data, or eventually you could do some of the troubleshooting by regions. So maybe you have a buddy storm, so you could actually pull that data, know where it's at, and then know that maybe there's a certain area that's got a base station issue because you've got an amplifier, or you got the LNA or something that's went bad, or you can't get to act the buddy messages or something with it. So,
I think
you need
there's a
something
lot
like
of
that with it.
a lot of potential for enhancement in that area, as well as in the mapping itself. Just being able to visualize the reach of a base station and things like that. So, good suggestion, and I can capture that for our feature roadmap.
Will this kind of take over ComStats to where ComStats won't exist anymore? And if so, how much of ComStats, what you get with the graphing and reporting, will be implemented into all of this?
So I'll answer the second question first. So as we have been working with beta customers like Jason and others, one of the things that we've asked them to do is that if they are a ComStats user, to try everything in their power, if reasonably possible, to not use ComStats and to try to do all of their ComStats business processes with NetMetrics. Because asking them to do that will help us validate, as it gets into more folks' hands, that it truly is that replacement and not our assumed replacement. To answer your second question, we haven't announced any kind of end of life on ComStats. I'll tell you a little something, based on my experiences as an R&I product manager, and that's that when we introduce a new application, I want there to be an ample overlap time between the new one coming in and the old one going away, because that feedback loop, as you upgrade, it can take a while, and this thing is going to come out, and we won't know in the first month if it's safe to start planning the move away from ComStats. It's going to take some time. Eventually, it would be great if NCS becomes our one-stop shop for monitoring, tuning, and configuration. But we just have to be really, really careful that we don't take anything existing away in that process.
So, if you have any ideas that, anything that you want in ComStat, that you want in NetMed, and that we don't have it right now, let us know.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Because right now, when we implemented NetMed, we actually looked at the ComStat a lot and say, okay, what did the customer want from there? And we talked to a lot of customers and try to figure out what do you guys use, and then we only took those and implement that in NetMed. So if there are something that we've missed, we would like to hear from you. So
and one of our pieces, I'm sorry, but
No,
one of
go
our
ahead.
pieces of training materials is designed to be if you did this in ComStats, here's how you do it in NetMed. Just a side-by-side A to B comparison. And so our intent is to be very thorough with that.
And I will say this is more user-friendly than ComStat.
Yes.
Well, you guys should experience that at the, I'm sorry, you guys should experience that at the, at the place, at the demo place.
All right, we got 3 more minutes before our session ends. Is there another question? We could take one more. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and please fill out that survey for us. Appreciate your time.